This is going to be just a quick video to show you how to do the duplicate stitch. So in my last video, I knit this sweater, and the video was much longer than this video is going to be. And the one thing I didn't show you in that video was how I added this bird onto the front of the sweater. And I added it using what's called the duplicate stitch, where you're basically just adding stitches on top of stitches. So you're going back to your project and adding more stitches onto it. So there's a lot of different ways to add different colors into your knitting projects. There's Antarja, there's Fair Isle, and block knitting and all this other stuff. And then there's the duplicate stitch, which I like because it's very low stakes. It's easy to go back and correct something. And it's also really simple, but ends up looking really nice and clean in the end. So with this sweater, I finished my entire project first. I did these stripes and stuff. And then when I was finished with the sweater, I came back and I added the bird by using the duplicate stitch. When you do the duplicate stitch, it's almost like a method of embroidery. You're taking extra yarn on a tapestry needle, and then you're tracing over every single stitch where you want to add the new color. And that basically sets those stitches on top of the old stitches, and you're stitching whatever you want onto your project. So it's really simple and it's fun. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I say this often, but knitting is just a series of loops that are interconnected, and when they're pulled together, they create a kind of fabric. And depending on the different combination of loops, you'll end up with different types of fabric, but usually you'll have this nice kind of stockinette stitch. This is going to form naturally if you're knitting in the round. So most projects, like with hats or sweaters, you're going to end up with these columns of V's. And to do the duplicate stitch on top of these, we're just going to take your tapestry needle and we're going to pick out one of these V's and essentially retrace the different arms of it. And to start, I'm just going to show you a quick little animation of what we're actually going to do, because I think it might be easier this way. So you've got your stockinette stitching, which is just a series of interconnected loops. With the duplicate stitch, I'm going to stick my needle through the back side of the bottom part of that V, so up through the bottom, and then loop it up over the right arm of the V, and then connect it through the V that's right above that one, and then go right back down into the hole that we came up from. And feel free to rewind that as many times as you need to, because the animation might be clearer than just watching me do it in real life. So I'm going to put my tapestry needle up through the bottom right here. So I'm gonna lift up on the back side and just stick it through. Pull it through. And I like to use kind of a good amount of extra yarn, just like a couple feet. Not too much though, because you don't want to create accidental knots or anything like that. And now we're going to retrace this V. So we've got the right arm of the V and the left arm of the V, and we're just going to figure out where it goes. So if you stretch it tight, you can see that the V actually goes and loops up through the V that's right above it. So that's where we're going to stick our needle through, just right there at the bottom of that V right above it. Go through both arms of the V there, and then just pull that through. And as you pull it tight, but not too tight, it's going to just rest on top of the arm there on the bottom. So we've just done the stitch over the right half of that V. Now we're going to go back down through the hole that we came up through. But before I do that, I'm going to plan out my next move, because I'm going to go down and then back up at the bottom part of the next V that I want to do. So let's just say that I'm going to move to the right and do the stitch, the V that's right next to it. So we're going to go down this hole right here, and then we're going to come up at the bottom of the next V. So I'll go down, pull it not too tight, and then we'll come up right next door at the bottom. And we're ready to knit this next V. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Go up through the V right above it. And then go back down through the same hole. And when I do that, I'm going to plan my next move. So let's just keep moving to the right. Go up through the bottom. And now I'm ready to knit this next stitch. So you can go pretty fast once you get into the rhythm of it. And as you go along, you can kind of give things a little tug just to make sure it looks nice. You'll find that if you pull too tight, then the bottom stitching starts to show through, just because the yellow is getting pulled a little too tight. So just be careful, and you can always, I like to kind of go in as I'm moving along and just kind of give stuff a little tug to make it look nice, but these look fine to me. And that is basically it for doing the duplicate stitch. You can kind of move wherever you want to from here. So let's just say that I'm gonna go above now. So I'm just gonna come up through the bottom of the next V and just do that one next. This can be a little complicated if you're doing a complex sort of pattern. Like the bird got a little messy in places just because I was using so many different colors. But for the most part, I mean, you're just filling in where you want to fill in. And you can do it, I mean, you can practically just not even pay attention really to how you're doing it. And I like it because unlike other knitting projects, you can actually see the results of what you're doing while you're doing it. So sometimes when you're doing like Fair Isle knitting or something, your pattern's not really going to show up until you're a couple rounds deep. But with duplicate stitch, I mean, you're watching it appear as you move along. So that is it for this tutorial. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to leave you with some nice behind the scenes footage of how I added the bird onto the sweater. As you can see, it can be a little tedious if you're using smaller yarn, but I mean, ultimately you're just embroidering, which is always fun to do. So be sure to give the video a like. Let me know in the comments what you like to do with the duplicate stitch, and I will see you next time.